Hi guys, kumusta?
Hello guys!
Hello.
Miss ka na
Hi
namin,
guys.
Casey.
OMG, miss ko na din kayo. Speaking of, magbe-visit daw kami dyan next month. Kaso, curious nga kami sa history nga daw ng Baao. Any idea, guys?
Siyempre, madami kami diyang alam.
Kaming
Yeah,
bahala
sure.
sa'yo.
Oo nga,
Okay,
G?
sige. G.
So ano guys, simulan natin yan sa pangalan ng Baao.
Baao derived its name from the word Baao, which means freshwater turtles, which abound in the surrounding marshes and swamps.
These Baao settlements may have been generically known as Kabaoan or in the present contracted word form Kabaawan.
One of the most historical places in Baao is the Baao Parish Church, also known as Saint Bartholomew Parish. Saint Bartholomew Parish was constructed in the site where it formerly stood for the second time when still a barrio of Bula in 1664. It was constructed with strong materials and destroyed by a typhoon in 1706. The church is known for its intricate designs and beautiful architecture that reflects the town's Spanish heritage. It is also considered one of the oldest churches in the Bicol region, making it a significant part of the town's history.
The Agtas and the Indamalays are two distinct ethno-linguistic groups that make up the pre-Hispanic Baao peoples. It is thought that the initial inhabitants of Bao's hinterlands were semi-nomadic Agta of Negroid ancestry, also known as Etom or Tabangnon. The Agtas in the hills of West Baao were essentially hunters and gatherers who lived off on the wealth of the fruits of the woodlands. As of right now, these folks can only be found in the barangays of Caranday, Tapul, Iagan, Nababarira, and Antipolo.
Ako po si Josephine Sampigan, Indigenous People Mandatory Representative from Antipolo, Baao, Camarines Sur. Di pong panamang, adi na po putusan para ni bikin batag. Ano pong klaseng batag amo di so ginamit na mong mga natural na gamit ko mga indigenous ko ng panahon. Plus adi pong panamang, ginagamit ko mga tribo ko ng panahon pang rakop nila kiti sa sura ng mga wild animal sa kabukiran. Adi pong rawog, amungan pa di mang sopan, rakop yung paniki at saka kulabidong.
Okay.
Para mas ako isura sa mga tribo. Alagad mo ko pong pampabakal pa, surasa na talaga.
Okay.
Halimbawa po, isusura mo na gabi. Kung na aldo, ning rakop nga no na gabi. Para ako isura.
Oral tradition and archaeological evidence also attest to the thriving trade that took place between Baoeños and other people from other countries in these early towns. In exchange for the lowlanders' rice, salt, cooking utensils, and articles of clothing, Agtas would trade forest items like honey, rattan, and wild boar meat. Broken pieces of porcelain pottery from mainland China that date to the 14th to 18th centuries have been discovered in Binanwaanan. These fragments may be proof of trade activities that took place long before the arrival of Spaniards.
The Japanese briefly occupied Baao from 1942 to 1945 during the outbreak of the Second World War in the Pacific. The town's economy ground to standstill as agricultural production fell. Famine and epidemics broke out. People were sometimes forced to eat namo, a poisonous wild yam, just to survive. Monetary inflation rose sky high that buying a ganta of rice would need a basket full of Japanese money. The Japanese forces committed atrocities especially when they found themselves on the losing end of the war. Among this is the infamous Agdangan massacre, where more than 2,000 Baaweños from Agdangan lost their lives. The municipal hall was also burned down during these years of turmoil.
This is a report which provided a brief but horrifying details of the so-called Agdangan massacre. Agdangan massacre happened on October 17, 1944 during the Japanese occupation World War II, where more than 2,000 civilian Baaweños from Agdangan lost their lives in the hands of the Japanese forces. On October 16, 1944, a Japanese sergeant was inspecting the communication lines from Pili to Baao when a small band of guerrillas chanced upon the soldier, whom they daringly attacked and murdered. According to Kotaro Nakamura, the desk officer of the Naga detachment of the Japanese Kempitai, who survived the war and lived until the 80s, this band was led by a certain big boy, Guevara. Unaware of the details, the Japanese simply concluded that it was an attack carried out with the participation of the residents of Agdangan. The next day, October 17, a substantial number of Japanese soldiers raided the barrio, surrounded the place, searched the houses, and arrested the individuals they found. All those arrested were brought to a chapel where they were burned alive. Although many of the young men were able to escape, some 210 were officially accounted killed, which included the old people and the women. Some of the children who were spared from the incendiary punishment were killed in the most brutal way. According to eyewitness interrogated by the Guerrilla Intelligence Unit, infants and young children were tossed in the air and received with a bayonet thrust as they descended. This historical event in our town may not be so significant in the Philippine history, but I believe that every Baaweño should know this event in our beloved town because it is one of the memories that should be written and remembered as a symbol of courage, fortitude, and love for freedom of Baaweños.
We also have a famous Baao poet named Luis G. Dato. He was born on July 4, 1906 and died on January 29, 1987. He was a Filipino poet, writer, educator, and politician from Baao, Camarines Sur. He was one of the first Filipinos to write and publish works in English. Dato wrote several books in his native tongue, Bicol, and contributed to several newspapers and magazines, articles such as Kantahon sa Bicol 1969, Morfolohiya Kantataramon na Bicol or serialized in Naga Times, Patuyodon sa Bicol or Bicol Mail, Sarabihon sa Bicol, and his translation of the Passion, which he entitled Life of Christ, which is his favorite song among his poems. Among his poems are The Spouse, Day on the Farm, and Among the Hills. In 1927, his Mi Ultimo Pensamiento was the first good English translation in rhymes of Jose Rizal's Mi Ultimo Adios.
Another historical spot in Baao is the Berlin Park. So why do we have this statue? It is because the first Filipino bishop was a Baaweño named George Imperial Berlin, who was born in Baao, Camarines Sur on April 23, 1850. He was ordained priest on September 19, 1875 and served in various parochial and curial assignments within the then Roman Catholic Diocese of Nueva Cáceres. On September 4, 1909, Filipino Bishop George Berlin died and buried in the mausoleum for the departed Dominicans in the Catholic Cemetery of Campo Verano in the outskirts of Rome, Italy at the age of 56. Last September 4, 2022 was the 113th death anniversary of George Berlin. His distinguished performance as an ecclesiastical administrator prompted Pope Pius X to appoint him as Bishop of Nueva Cáceres in 1906. He became bishop at that when most of the other bishops of the Philippines were either Spaniards or Americans. He refused to join the Filipino secular clerics who, in the aftermath of the revolution against Spain, had decided to cut off from Rome and form an independent Philippine church. As the first Filipino bishop, he delivered the invocation during the opening session of the First Philippine Assembly in 1907. He was participating in the traditional ad limina visit of Catholic bishops to the Pope when he died. In honor of his legacy, the plaza in front of the Naga Cathedral was named after him.
Dakol na mga artikulo asin mga patotoo ang samong nabasa, manungot sa naginibuhan ni George Bardin. Pako sana bilang leader kan lokal na simbahan digdi sa Bicol, kundi ang sa iyang dakulang kontribusyon sa pagdanay kan simbahang Romano-Katoliko bilang mayor na relihiyon sa Pilipinas. Asin man, kung kaya kita nabisto as a Catholic Church or Catholic nation in Asia. Ang papel na ginampanan ni George Bardin ay dai matatawaran, kung kaya dapat lang na matawan ini ninda kulang honora. On April 23, 2023 at 6 p.m., we attended the Barlin Festival and watched as Baawenyo celebrates the festival in Barlin Park to commemorate the milestones of our Bishop George Imperial Barlin, a role model for all the clergy for his excellent virtues and untainted name, and a pious believer of the glory of the Catholicism.
Another festival is the Camarines Festival, and it is celebrated annually during the month of August. Camarines Festival began in 2015 with the initial purpose of the Baao Local Tourism Council of Baao and the proposals from the Baao locals to give name to the event that we celebrate, which is now known as the Camarines Festival. Camarines Festival means fun, to have fun, or to be happy. And the festival's goal is for everyone to be happy and enjoy the festivities. Camarines Festival is the local version of the Kaugma Festival of Camarines Sur.
Baao can also keep up in terms of talents, as of its contributor in music, Baao Children and Youth Choir or BCYC, receiving multiple awards and recognition locally and internationally. The Baao Children and Youth Choir, also known as BCYC, is an experimental choral group formed in 2014 whose members are chosen from the two choirs, namely Baao Children's Choir and National Music Competition for Young Artists or NAMCYA. Children's Choir category champion in 2010 and 2013 and grand prize winner in the 18th Certamen Juvenil de Habaneras in Torrevieja, Spain in 2012. And from the Baao Youth Choir and NAMCYA national champion in 2008 and 2011, hence the combined name. The members are pupils and students from two different schools, Baao National High School Special Program in the Arts and Rosary School Incorporated in the municipality of Baao, Camarines Sur. They also participated in several international festivals and competitions, namely First International Children Culture and Arts Festival in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia in 2011, 9th Busan Choral Festival and competitions in 2013 in Busan, South Korea, where they bagged bronze prize in both youth choir and ethnic category, and many other competitions around the world. With the national and international feats through the years, the BCYC has received numerous accolades and recognitions from the local and national award-giving bodies. Among them is the prestigious Ani ng Dangal or Harvest on Honor from the National Commission for Culture and Arts under the Office of the President of the Philippines.
Another Baawenyo who contributed to our country and up to the present is still helping the Baao community is Bernadette de Los Santos, who owns the Bidi-Bidi Cafe. Located on the ground floor of the Los Santos Ancestral House in Baao is the Bidi-Bidi Cafe. But this is not an ordinary cafe. They also have embroidered, woven, and crocheted work of art as well. Their handmade crafts are bracelets, jackets, paintings, and the most popular craft that they have is their bags.
Bernadette de los Santos, also known as Bidi Bidi, is an artist, entrepreneur, and philanthropist from Baao, Camarines Sur, who transformed her farming community into a destination spot for food, music, travel, and crafts. She then created many opportunities to give back to her community. She founded Bidi Bidi Cafe in 2017 by teaching more than 150 women in her hometown of Baao the skill of hand embroidery. She also generates a living by supporting education and scholarships, managing a band, and organizing art exhibits. Her work was even featured in Christian Louboutin's 2018 Manila Caba line. Bidi Bidi bags have also been showcased in New York's Neiman Marcus and the Dubai Expo. She was named the most outstanding rural woman by the Department of Agriculture. In addition, she was the first guest artist in Fundación Sanso's ADE program, which celebrates creatives who utilize their art and design skills to help others. Because of her unique and beautiful works, many celebrities and personalities such as Heart Evangelista, Tessa Prieto Valdez, Miss Universe 2015 Pia Wurschbach are known to be admirers of Bidi Bidi bags. And recently, her world-class designed bags were flaunted during the Localidad Demo exhibit at CSPC on February 24, 2023.
Marami ka bang natutunan or nalaman tungkol sa Baao?
Oo, ang ganda pala ng history ng Baao. Mas lalo kong nakilala yung Baao. Salamat, guys.
Walang anuman, Casey. Bye-bye. Matulog na ako eh. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye.